kicking the gear. Okay. All right, just do this life meaning stuff. I didn't check the numbers on it, but I think it's kind of something that's, you know, not talked about very often and talked about in different ways, I guess. I don't know, I don't pay attention to the rest of the world, but of course there's different meanings to it all. Start off where so those that don't understand anything, they use the word positivity and all that. If they don't, either as a shield, or they just don't understand anything, or they think they understand it. I don't know. It's almost like used like a block, like a protection. Like if they don't want to hear something, like that's not positive, you know. Like I don't want to hear this yada yada yada, and they just say it's not positive, whatever. You know, they just close, they shut down their ears, and yeah. So yeah, and all this positivity, just saying, where is that getting all these people anyway? There's nowhere. Not really. Anymore, I think a lot of them are just sort of sitting, going nowhere. Not really exploring anything. Just put their energy in a positive, park spot and just sit there. But keep saying it all the time. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. So, and that's fine. They're not that strong, obviously. Yeah, I use the word positivity. Should if they use the word a lot, it's just also using it as almost like a weapon. Protect all their weaknesses. So, not to judge, but it's true. Not everybody does have some use it. So, they just want the ice cream life. Was it the icing on the cake? But not the cake. The cake's kind of heavy. This is, yeah. I mean, the aliens. I mean, if all this positivity is out there, shouldn't we have the aliens here physically with us right now? I mean, technically they are kind of, but shouldn't we be extraterrestrial aware at this point? Don't you think? I mean, obviously they're here, but they're not here part of conversation worldwide as part of our society, right? Not really. So, like I said, the positive energy, because of course they're always waiting. That's part of the theme. Positive waiting. Obviously, they haven't quite figured this world out that much. Obviously not, and a lot of them won't either. Or majority are nowhere near it, so they're just gonna kind of blow in the wind and just, do the same old thing over and over again. So I just want to put that out there. But the meaning of life energy, yeah, it's just obviously it's the hell planet. It's not. It's a purgatory planet. It's not hell. If it's hell, you would definitely know it. It'd be like just fire, brimstone. Nothing would probably work. Or they keep telling you. Of course, the demonic beings. They keep saying how positive they are. Jeez. Because they use it too, and it's working here. That's for damn sure. So, but yeah, longevity. Figuring this out. It doesn't mean you have to have it all figured out, but be surprised that just it's like almost like swimming through this. You're living through life. It's kind of swimming through it too in some ways, but you're going through the current and you're also releasing. You might not be aware of it. Now, it's not everybody's release. Some are making their lives even worse. Some are adding more baggage to themselves depending on their actions. But, yeah, of course, you can't always get all the answers on everything, but you just, yeah, keep going forward. Maybe you'll get some clarity, maybe as a download, possibly, but that's the kind of the point. You're also clearing out, like I say, old timelines from other incarnations and just lightening the load. So, when certain people get at certain ages, doesn't mean they always have it all figured out or are more at peace. So, yes and no. Sometimes yes, but they feel like they've gotten to where they are, you know, what they needed to accomplish. Doesn't mean they have to let go of all their stuff or anything like that. Yeah, not everything's, of course, like I said, it's not fully explaining itself. Like contracts that were intended to be created here and then aren't. Yeah, that's not always clear of, you know. Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like, because like a timeline, it's kind of like, it's like two gates. Like you got two different people, and the gates come together. Like they just make a clue or a connection, something like that. But if one gate is there and the other one's kind of flapping around and falls apart, it sort of kind of feels, you know, left out in the cold or something like that. Yeah, it's strange. Yeah, because what other timeline should have developed there, and so on. Yeah, it's strange. Like relationship energies, maybe even a job, possibly, definitely. With relationships that could have been or did sort of happen. It's almost, yeah, like sometimes with a relationship breakup can, I don't know, sometimes feel like an attack or, sometimes it can seem that way, to break it apart. And yeah, it's almost like an energetic attack where you have, it's like, well, you have all these wounds when you shouldn't have any of that. Like, there's something more to it that's not, you know, it's not explaining itself. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that's happened. Obviously, astrally, we can't see, but, yeah. Yeah. But, yeah, it's doesn't mean you always get clarity on everything. But releasing can sometimes happen, but not always. It all depends. And just, yeah, healing old timeline or timelines within yourself, like, or bad habits, you can say, can be done. Not always, but sometimes certain habits can be. And that's another reason why you need all this time to. It's up to you to reverse a bad habit if you want to, like even like drinking, drugs, and so on. Of course, many do create bad habits here too, due to this energy field and or addiction, bad vice addictions, or due to just the low frequencies here that are so stagnant, and the beings that are lost here in the lower dimensions are just. I mean, they don't want to. I mean, obviously, a lot of beings want to be here. A lot of the lower dimension beings don't want to be here, but they lost the fight, they lost the war, they lost themselves, so they're just wandering around and just causing. And they can also attach themselves to all these positive people too. That's say they're positive, but obviously have not healed their darkness. And, but it just shows how the light doesn't quite understand this place as much as it says it does. If that was the case, you wouldn't see these spiritual groups all weaponized and manipulated and all that. So it just shows that the light does not understand shit. Some do. Majority don't. They're just not there. I don't know if they ever will be there. It's like there's like certain individuals here, obviously, that just don't see any spirituality, don't want nothing to do with it, just connected to the physical realms, and that's just the way it is. Or maybe they're connected to some kind of religion, but they're just not interested in the non-physical reality. And so yeah, you have these all these super positive people that are delusional and locked in to manipulate. They don't even care if it's manipulation. It seems they just keep, they might understand the non-physical to some level, but obviously not strong enough to understand their own darkness or release it or get some balance there. And that was those are pretty high numbers too. So, yeah, they can say the strongest survive, and the stronger ones that are here, that are a bit more balanced, are assisting. They're kind of like rowing the boat, while the positive ones are drinking champagne on the higher decks. But then, whatever the hell that is. And the ones that are stronger are, you can say, keeping the ship going and getting attacked by the light people, the dark people, whatever, both sides, because they're not understood. Assisting keeping this, not everything, but either way, they're keeping a lot of things going and just not unappreciated, and it's the muck, basically. It's the stuff that people, it's kind of like the job that nobody wants, basically. The energetic job that no one wants. Boy, is that the truth of it. But yeah, you can say this is where the fight is. It's not completely clear. Of course, obviously, somebody have a definition of it, but this world cannot go on for like this forever, as much as it likes to think it can. And yeah, it can continue in different realities somewhere, just in some fractal state, but it seems like there is some order being done here out of, bring some calm to the chaos somehow. Just not clear how, but a lot of the agendas will continue either here or somewhere else. I don't know. It's not clear. But either way, it doesn't mean this world is going to become extremely positive, because it's still fucked up. It's like you have the positive people that are all screwed up in Wawa land. I don't see how it could get, as they say, they're positive or delusional. So we'll see how that. Seeing the full picture, we're not obviously allowed to see. And it's probably best we don't see a lot of. I don't think people would be able to function here if they saw everything that was happening here. It's funny how they want new information and all that. It's like sometimes it's better. Ignorance is bliss on so many levels. Because if we knew everything that was happening here, we probably wouldn't be able to function here. It's just too much. Too much of just, what's behind the scenes is just too intense. Not to say it's SSP stuff, but I guess there's some of that. But it's a lot of that's just mind control. Yeah, and then, well, of course, I also say it's an escape too from this place. Give you something else to think about. It's connected to a realm that you probably shouldn't be tapping into. We're going to do it anyway, and there's some releasing that needs to be done there, and so I'm not going to continue with that. Jeez. Yeah, it's more exciting than this reality, that's for sure. But eventually, reality. If you're so disconnected from reality, you might feel like you're connected spiritually, but I don't know. For some here that are like in delusion land, they might be where they just, they get karma for being so delusional. If like you get incarnate here, just come back as a matrix person, you'd be surprised if they do come back, because they're just so lost in the higher dimensional thinking. It's just like they're not really grounded in reality. They're just zoned out. So, of course, a lot of them are in the Matrix program, not even aware of it. So, but there's others that are abusing. Well, let's put it this way: the ones that are, what comes to mind? I'll just make it more clear. Those that are like the secret space program people that or feel like they're leaders of it, and they're actually it's weaponizing and manipulating it and manipulating others on it and just profiting off of it. When you're abusing it, and I'm not, yeah, they might get karma in the next life, whereas it's like you can't have that shit anymore. Like they might have some spiritual understanding of it, but they're also manipulating the shit out of people, creating a religion, whatever. And so from what I'm feeling from that, they can, if they do incarnate here, they'll be shut off from it. Maybe become a follower or something. I don't know. They just lose abilities because of how they screwed over a lot of people. So, when someone trying to act like a messiah, even if they're not saying it, they kind of act like it. Not to mention names. It's not necessarily those that are well known either, are extremely well known. Some of the lower tier, they still have a big ego. So, at least that's what I'm picking up on that, which makes sense. Yeah, like somebody like L. Ron Hubbard, and I don't think L. Ron Hubbard will ever come back here, or Aleister Crowley, or Aleister Crowley is similar to like the Yeshua. Like his energy will always be here. And L. Ron Hubbard is a weird one because his energy is here, but so many people want to be like him. Of course, you can say that same thing with Aleister Crowley, and yeah, it's different ways. I mean, everyone taps into things differently. Ron Hubbard doesn't seem like he's, here as much as Aleister Crowley is. Let's put it that way. Like Scientologists, those that are in charge want to be the god of that, you can say, and put Ron Hubbard to the side. They might use some of his energy and all that, but they might feel like they're the whatever that is in charge or whatever, a dominant force there. Aleister Crowley is, of course, is a lot darker than that little psycho, but yeah, I'm not interested in any of that. But yeah, he's similar to Yeshua, where his energy will never leave this place at all. It seems so many people are different interpretations of it, and yes, you can learn from it, but also there's, it's just not the. Was it Madame Blavatsky? Her energy, she's not, I don't think she's as well. She's the one that came up with Lemuria, who he's tapped into. I think Lemuria is already known in the past. I don't think she's all that well known compared to Crawley. But yeah, her energy's here. She's kind of like the Mother Mary of esoteric shit. Maybe not the best frequencies, far from it. Just another gypsy. But yeah, like the meaning of life energy. Of course, you find your own meaning. You might not find your meaning at all. It's just really just like your actions and once again releasing. If you feel like you become a better person, it depends. So many are pulled into their vices and not exactly the best person they want to be. They, especially when they're younger and they do stupid things and they continue that. But yeah, if they redeem themselves, like they, release. But yeah, those that are went to a more darker direction, we can say will end up reincarnating again, possibly, because they didn't get it right. They became something they don't. When they also had the option to become terrible, and a lot of them do that. So it's not always the case. So, of course, like with some families, like my family, it's fucking motherfuckers. Just, of course, they put on the persona that they're friendly and all, and maybe they are, but they're kind of psychotics behind the scenes. They're not perfect. I mean, but then there's some good there. I don't know. It's just controlling. Yeah, I mean, there's some good side to it. Obviously, there's, they do things what they want to do, and I don't know. It's probably no different than the other screwed up family, but yeah, and then they have regrets. I don't know if they get. Yeah, they do get. Well, karma also is like they have to live here for a long time and deal with their actions. So because they're pay for what they did. You're not getting attention from family members anymore, or just your kid doesn't talk to him anymore or whatever it is. So, you know. But yeah, with the meaning of life energy, we can go into spirit guide consciousness, feels like. Yeah, they're around. Yeah, we're going to the meaning of life energy through the spirit guide's point of view. Of course, some people feel like spirit guides are bad beings, and some are. But for the intentions for a more positive connection or a more for the highest good connection there. So, all right. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, all right. Blessings, here we go. Grease you with their spirit guide consciousness. There is, yes, energy is not necessarily can be accessed at a physical conscious level because you're dealing with physicality, emotions, the human program. But the human program, just is, makes you who you are. I mean, of course, you can change that program all day long, but maybe the mindset. But it's necessary. How it's with you, you don't want to disconnect from that because then you won't know how to do anything. It's important, but you're, how to, tidy yourself up, things like that. It's all important. You need to have some kind of architecture of how to do this or a to-do list. But the meaning of life frequencies, from a physical, it's basically what you want to accomplish here. It could be, yes, it could be just saying something to someone. You might be traveling the world. I'm going to go to this place and that place and so on. What it comes down to is really your interaction with others. It could be, yes, you can incarnate here just to say one word to someone or to, cool off negative timelines or cut off someone. There's many here that have been through a lot of traumas and they're not thinking correctly. Right? Their energy is kind of drunk. And so they're living life recklessly due to being not loved as a child and just sort of a train wreck. And sometimes you might have the strongest connection with them, soulmates, but they can turn into like a tornado and take everybody out. And yes, you're one of them. They could be sometimes the lightest being around you, or the worst. And so they do feel, they break that connection with you. They do feel it, but they just ignore it. Because it keeps coming back, because yes, there is a connection that could have been made, that was agreed upon. They cut the agreement, but it still lingers. We're just putting that out there. But as for meaning of life, it can be extremely small. But you have to kind of go through all of this. Just go through the mountain of existence, go through the rock plane, go through all of this to get to a certain person or accomplishment. It's like sometimes, yes, beings give up too easily in other incarnations. So you wonder why you're here so long. Well, because you're still climbing the mountain of life, you're still here to accomplish what you're here to accomplish. As much as if you're doing something, if you're not doing anything, and continue to do nothing, yes, you can open up an early exit depending. But if you're continuously striving forward, you will get there at some point. What you're here to do, and it might not exactly be how you visualize it. Like many of you probably realize you're in certain situations, you weren't planning, but you end up there anyway because you're supposed to be there, and that's pretty much what we're getting at. It just sort of, it's like you're throwing the sailboat and letting the wind take you for where it is, but you are going towards what you're looking for. Of course, the human mind is always adding things there it doesn't need to be there, which is, you need a sense of security. You need certain things to survive here. And it's easy to get paranoid. It's hard, even with those that are spiritually connected, can still be quite paranoid when it comes to security. Just finances, living, and all. It makes no, it's understood because you wish it was a little bit more, like kind of like a goal. Well, you don't have to worry about it, but obviously there is a lot of uncertainty here. But also, it helps you become more spiritual by just trusting it all work itself out. The hardest thing ever is to trust it. And you can say you're trusting your higher spirit. And yes, you might not have had the best track record with higher spirits and getting burned by certain individuals and all that. But that's kind of also the point to keep through it. Yes, you might go through depression and all that too. Well, that has to do with sometimes the depression of others. And sometimes it just has to do with just the society has a depression within itself too. And many others just ignore it. They just want to live their life. But see, it's interesting, those that want to continue to live their life, as they say, but they ignore everything else. Not to say you need to absorb everyone's problems, but why they live in bliss because they ignore everything. But sometimes you can ignore too much. It almost becomes like a negative thing because they just ignore reality. I mean, they're in reality, but they're also ignoring it, if that makes any sense. So it's like they're kind of living in their own little bubble. Let's put it that way. And yes, they might be the nicest, friendliest beings, but also it can also come off as very negative too, because they are shutting off reality, even their own. Just like I say, if you live in a bubble, you'd be surprised how many do that. Even if they are extremely positive, they put themselves in a positive bubble just so they don't get hurt, so they don't really live either. And they just might have fancy dinners, they might have fancy friends or so on, but they're not really living. Maybe showing off, but not really going towards their core talents. And that's not necessarily a negative, it just means they have to come back here again. It's like, yeah, you might have had a fancy dinner with these people and dance and you look good and yada yada yada. But what the hell did you do with yourself? Besides do the 9 to 5, did you explore any of your other talents? Did you take any chances, risks, or anything like that? There might have been some of that. We'd be surprised how many do play it safe. So doing this spiritual energy doesn't mean you have to take a lot of risks, but trusting the spirit realms, like I say, like financially, just saying, okay, it'll work itself out somehow. It'll just work out magically somehow. I mean, that's a risk, you could say. Or you can just become very paranoid and find a job that you can't stand that pays well and live in that bubble. Doesn't mean you have to go out and be poor, but we're just saying, like, be surprised how many, sometimes living a bare bones life can be very fulfilling because of what you can create with it, and you have free time to explore more of your talents. You're not part of the everyday 9 to 5 grind and so on. So just, yes, going with the flow is definitely, but there's different types of flow. There's the flow of living in a bubble, and then there's flow of a spiritual flow where you're just not worried about positive, negative, just that you're more, aligned with yourself and just along for the ride, not judging, and just exploring and just doing the best you can. And that's all that matters, really. And yes, the world shows viciousness towards you because it is vicious, or the society shows its business, not necessarily the world, because it's just the visitors here, the human visitors, are just not aligned with themselves as they could be. And that's why it's so difficult. So many are out of alignment because they want all these things and materials or whatever it is. One thing they don't need is living in their own bubble somewhere. And maybe you're here to pop those bubbles and you can feel the heat from it. But sometimes you gotta do it. If they put that bubble back. So, and those of you who are looking for clarity, depending on what it is, can find it at some point. Might take years. Because the astral realms don't want you to know certain things. Something can be known here, but you're allowed to know pieces, but not know the full story of it. for reasons. I'm not going into detail of that either for us. So either way, blessings.